Welcome to the Art Grind Podcast. I'm Tun Miang, the producer and host of this new series called The Artist's Three-Body Problem, where we try to solve some of the biggest problems artists have in their careers, which includes money, visibility, and time. Now, if you're not familiar with the three-body problem, whether it's the original theory, the book, or the show, I'll try to briefly explain it to you. Historically, the three-body problem was conceived by Sir Isaac Newton. Now, unlike the two-body problem, like the Earth orbiting the Sun, where calculations are relatively straightforward, adding a third body can introduce new levels of complexity, which can lead to unpredictable and even chaotic orbital patterns, like the two bodies colliding with each other or being ejected out of the system. Generally, there is no one equation that can perfectly predict the motions of the three bodies over time, making it extremely difficult to solve analytically. As far as literature goes, there is an amazing epic sci-fi trilogy titled Remembrance of Earth's Past by Liu Cixin, and the first book in the trilogy is titled The Three-Body Problem, and they now have a Netflix show by the same name. It is an amazing sci-fi book and highly recommended, and they did an amazing job translating it into an actual binge-worthy TV show. Now, what does any of this have to do with art, you say? Well, I'm borrowing this concept and applying it to an artist's career because there are multiple unpredictable factors in that too, especially when it comes to money, visibility, and time. So let's get to it. Welcome to the Art Grind Podcast. I am your host, Tun Miang, and we have Nicola Russell.
Hi.
Nicola Russell is an amazing artist, and she's mostly known for her paintings of people in the subway. And one of the reasons I'm interviewing her is because her social media game is amazing. She definitely knows what she's doing because she has about 921K followers on TikTok, 452,000 on YouTube, and 27,000 followers on Instagram. Yeah. So she definitely knows what she's doing.
I don't necessarily agree.
Well, we can get into that,
okay.
And that's one of the reasons we're here. And I did a recent polling on Instagram, and this is people want to know how to fix their visibility problem. The format that I want to use today is to focus on three things, which is first to identify, clarify, and then solve when possible. So that just means identifying what the actual issue is and then clarifying what the root problem is and not focusing on the symptoms. So all that said, let's get into it.
Yeah. My first thought is, can we define visibility? What does that mean? What does that look like?
Absolutely. I think visibility means a lot of different things to people, but I think majority are thinking visibility on Instagram or like social media.
Okay.
But again, I think that's more of a symptom than like the root thing, right? Because like visibility to whom, right?
Right.
Because I know some really successful artists, like people in, blue chip galleries,
right,
that have like, very
just like a few thousand,
right,
if
exactly on Instagram, and they don't do that because that's not part of it. So when I
feel like Instagram is really cheap visibility. It's not real visibility.
Yeah, so that's I think that's
doesn't guarantee you anything.
Right. So I think that's a misconception. I think
it's like a false feeling of visibility.
Yes, especially because I know friends who have other huge Instagram accounts, and they have a hard time converting that into any sales or anything.
Yeah, definitely.
So when people focus too much on visibility, I think they might be mistaken.
Or they're just going about it wrong.
Yeah. So do tell.
Okay, I was building up. I wanted to say,
Yes.
We're talking about Instagram visibility being sort of cheap and
Yep.
giving you a false sense of visibility.
Yes.
I think honestly, what a big following on Instagram gives you is kind of like a master's degree, where it's just this shiny thing you can show people and to sort of prove you're valid.
Right. What
You're like,
websites used to do, which is like, if you don't have a website, you're
right.
not
I don't even have a website. I've been meaning to
That's
build one
true.
for so long.
I try to find one, and I'm like, what?
I have no website, and it hasn't really
hasn't affected
mattered or
you.
affected me. To me, a website feels like it would just be to like kind of like showcase and collect my work all in one place neatly.
Right. Although,
And a
yeah,
little more curated than Instagram.
The other platforms could do the same thing. Like,
Right.
You can do the same thing, except less clear, I suppose.
No one has ever asked me for my website.
That's interesting. I think it didn't used to be the case before.
No.
I think it
That
only
changed
started
pretty
happening
recently.
when the social media platforms became more important than websites. I feel like websites are just kind of sitting in the background. It's kind of, I have mine because, you know, I built it a long time ago, but yeah, they're not that.
I think it's generational.
Yeah, it's totally generational. Yeah. And I think websites are more a one-way communication. It's like, here's
Yeah.
the thing, but you're not like communicating with your
There's
audience.
also, I think this is generational too. The with social media, you can like specifically see how many thumbs up someone got on this.
Right.
Whereas on your website, you don't see that. It's almost strange. As me, I grew up, I got a Facebook account when I was, I think, 12. And that was the beginning of my social media journey. But back then it was way more fun. It's silly.
Right.
It's not
it's like
the
your
monster
friends.
it is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And same with Instagram. I got Instagram in undergrad in my freshman year, and it was so like fun and casual, and you just kind of it was just kind of replacing Facebook. You just kept up with your friends.
Yeah.
And now it's such a monster, and I'm not even following most of what is in my feed now.
Yeah.
All those
Well,
ads.
because like most of it is they're just sending you more recommendations.
Yes.
And
Which I don't need any more recommendations. I'm already following too many accounts.
exactly. But like for them, this is
can't.
the closest they've become as far as replicating TikTok's algorithm. Like they'll never get there because.
But they're shooting themselves in the foot. They're ruining the thing that made them nice, that made them different than from TikTok, which was keeping up with your friends.
Yeah. And I remember they had a huge backlash a couple years back because the photographers were like up in arms. They're like, you know, stills used to be such a big thing, but stills don't move the needle anymore. So then they dialed down how effective reels were, and then they were giving more, you know, I don't know.
I think reels were a smart move,
Yes.
and stories were so great because that ruined Snapchat's competition.
Right. Yeah.
But I hate that you don't see your feed in chronological order.
Yes.
And I hate you have to see all these suggested accounts where I just want to see the posts. I'll follow people and I never see them at all on my feed. And then but they are posting.
Yeah.
But then I feel like I've missed out on the things I actually cared about. And so Instagram's just like losing so much of its value to me. And it's just so stressful.
It is.
It's so overwhelming. It's too much.
Like, I feel like artists already have so much on their minds. This is like the extra thing we don't need.
There's so much influence.
So, and I think, you know, that is like the big misconception of like, okay, like you were saying before, how much do we actually really need this thing?
Right. Well, I guess if I'm sticking to my metaphor of it's like a degree,
Yeah.
and you can go, oh, look at this. I have this. Do you want to hire me? Do you want to work with me?
You're right.
It is useful.
Yeah.
You know, there's clearly a reason it's so big, and that we're talking about it right
Yes.
now. It is useful and powerful and important.
Yeah.
But it's really not I don't think it's a deal breaker the way people build it up in their heads to be. And what I was building to was with visibility was, at the end of the day, your Instagram following number isn't gonna get you into shows. It's the people you're genuinely connected to. Yeah. Which is the beauty of the internet. It connects more people.
Right.
But it's showing up really in real life.
IRL.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I feel like a lot of people kind of forgot to mention that part. I asked people about it. Like, are you doing art?
You need to show real face at events. Show
Yep.
up to your friends. Show up to the artists and the galleries that you follow.
Yep.
And show face, and that can work in social media too. When you leave a positive comment, and people are just like reading their comments nonstop. It's addicting.
Yeah.
When they post, because there's so much emotional weight that goes into every post now.
Oh,
and
totally.
Will people like this? Will people give me a thumbs up? Will people comment? And they see you commenting, and that forms a connection. And you show face, and you show up to their show, and then that's how you move and have real quality visibility.
Yeah, because I think there is more emotion attached to it too, because it's just you don't get the same chemicals as you're seeing somebody in person. Like,
that's the person who's gonna think of you and be like, oh, I'm putting together a group show. Would you like to join in?
Exactly.
And they think out and they reach out to you, especially if you're showing that you're someone who shows up to things, that you're reliable that way. Artists can, as you said, can be really hectic and busy.
Yeah.
And it's hard to show up to everything, and it's hard to show up on time. But, just being someone who's like invested in that stuff.
Right.
Will plant that when you're planting a seed of yourself in other people's minds in real life. Yep. That will give you visibility.
Yeah, and I think it is almost like a part-time job because
it is.
That takes so much effort too.
And you need to be likable. I think being an artist, a huge part of it is like showing up in your studio, having all that work made, ready to go when the opportunity strikes, but it's being likable and networking. And
those are like the two things I feel like artists, generally speaking, suck at.
I know.
Wait, but you're so in your head.
I didn't say extroverted. You don't need to be extroverted. Yeah. And so many artists are not.
Just don't be weird.
No, you can be weird.
Okay, you can be weird, but be likable.
Likable is like, be kind.
Okay.
Remember people's names. Oh my gosh, that goes so far. If you show up and you see someone, everyone's going out in Chelsea and Tribeca Thursday nights for gallery openings, and you eventually get to know people's faces, but you might not know them.
Right.
You learn that person's name and you go, oh, hi, Tan, how are you today?
Yeah.
And that's visibility. They now feel visible to you.
Right.
You make them, when you know someone's name, I think the secret to life is that we all wish we were immortal. And immortality comes with existing in other people's minds and existing past death in what you leave behind, whether it's students that you affected or children or writing books or making art. It's those waves you create, and just that knowing that someone knows your name makes you feel so good.
Also pronouncing the names correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Oh my gosh. When I got here...
It's Nicola.
Nicola.
Not Nicola.
It's okay, though.
I made that mistake.
It's okay.
But, yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. I think knowing... Who is it? Dale Carnegie, his famous quote, it's like nothing sounds better. There's no sweeter word to anyone than the sound of their own name.
Oh, totally. And it goes beyond that. Anytime you're in a group picture, the first thing you do automatically, exactly, you try to find yourself in the
where
group.
am I?
Exactly, yeah. So we can't help it. I think that's just how we're wired. So you can kind of use that to help be more likable by helping other people out.
Seeing other people, being interested in other people, and being genuine about it, not being
So I think
fake.
Those are...
Which is it's like a tricky line to walk.
Yeah.
We all turn on I guess,
right.
like a facade, especially us introverted artists, when we go out and you have to like plaster that smile on and you're like, yes, I love being here around all these people right
like,
now.
Anything you do, I feel like anything you do outside of your studio besides painting or whatever you're working on, it's a performance. Yeah. This is a performance.
I know, we're so performing.
So like, you might as well be good at it, right?
Well, I think, yes, absolutely. And practice it. And you can't practice it by only being in your studio alone.
Right.
But I like thinking about people's performances. I think we all have multiple masks.
Yep.
With
kind of
different,
necessary.
You know, and we all have different groups in our life.
Yep.
And, you know, friends versus siblings versus colleagues versus strangers. And especially in New York City, it's so easy to just fluidly morph between personalities.
Oh, totally. You could do that in the span of like a couple hours. Like you go from like
minutes.
the Chelsea opening to like some after tparty or whatever, and just like a complete, totally different group.
Or even just like here working in the school or working in your studio, and then you go to the coffee shop and the way you banter with the baristas. And then you go
banter
back
with baristas?
Oh, I learn all my baristas' names.
Okay,
I know everyone's name at Mama. They're so happy to see me.
Wow.
I'm happy to see them.
Right.
I get like free pastries when like, you know, the pastries don't go well and they're not good enough to sell. They'll give me those.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Huge lesson here. Huge lesson.
But that started with just being like, oh, what's your name? If I've seen this person, they've served me coffee more than 3 times, like I want to know their name.
Right.
And knowing their name and then just like saying like, thank you, Tan.
Yeah.
You know, every time.
I feel like
it's nice.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure because, you know, from their perspective, it's just like faceless customer after another.
I know.
And all of a sudden they hear their name and it's like, ding, it's like a rush of endorphins or something, you know. Yeah,
and you know what I hear most from like everyone is, oh, I just can't remember names. And it's so fair because there's so many names you learn in life now, and especially with social media, there's so many people that exist in your world. And I used to tell myself, oh, I can't remember names at all. Mm-hmm. And now I'm just so unashamed. Like, oh, I forgot your name. Will you remind me of it?
Okay.
Will you tell me your name again?
Yeah. Do you have a trick? Because I feel like, especially at social events, you know, there's so many different things going on. Your brain's like all over the place. You ask their name, and then it's like, it goes right, at least to me, like it goes right through the other ear. Yeah.
I do have a trick. Okay, you have to stop yourself.
Okay.
You have to go, oh, okay, like Susie. It's like, you say it out loud.
Okay.
Go, nice to meet you, Susie. Like you speak it.
Okay.
That helps me when I say it out loud, and then I like turn away and I go like, Susie, Susie, Susie. And then I make up something that reminds me of the name.
Like?
Sue sees the ocean.
Okay, so it's like mnemonics.
Yeah, I just think of like a silly, I'm a big, I love a story and I love storytelling.
Yeah.
So, and I can always remember a story.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a great trick.
Okay.
Maybe for you, it could be if it rhymes with something and you remember the thing it rhymes with, and then you can be like, oh, I remember the name. And I practice later. I'll write down the names I heard that day and test my memory. It's hard.
That's amazing.
It takes a lot of effort.
Right. I was going to say like
and in New York, there's so many people you meet in a day sometimes.
Exactly. You're going so out of your way to like put in that effort. But I think the dividends are great. Huge. Yeah.
I mean, with my, I taught at the New York Academy's CERT program this past summer, and I'm TAing right now for a class. And the first thing I did is like, I wanted to know their names, all my students' names, by week 1. Wow. And be able to like say them all.
How many students are there in a class?
Normally like 11.
Okay, that's a lot of names.
Yeah. But so for that, I have a list.
Right.
It's just about knowing the list and then putting it to a face.
Right.
And then also pronouncing it correctly.
Yes.
It is.
Like
we kind of just made that joke.
Is different.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be sounds and vowels that don't roll off my tongue as easily.
Yes.
And I'm gonna get it wrong a few times, and I tell people like, oh, I'm gonna get it wrong. Can you correct me, please? Right. And I'll practice it until.
That's amazing.
It makes people feel really good.
Yeah, also because like most like in American culture, it's like if you're not John or Tom, they don't care.
They don't care and they don't want to try and it's too hard.
Exactly.
And no,
Either they purposely like mess up your name. Like, okay, I went through high school as Tony because they were too retarded to like pronounce Tun. It's like it's like 3 letters. Like, how do you not know how to say Tun? But to their mind, like they have no reference point. So they're like, Tony. I'm like, fuck. Okay, yes, Tony. So like on my high school diploma, it says Tony Miai. Because I just got fed up with it. And anytime, but the interesting thing is, when I'm going like as I was growing up and I was in college, no problem at all. Maybe because it was like a different crowd of people. And they're like, oh yeah, Tun, okay.
Also, I don't know, did you start like advocating more, insisting on Tun?
No, I just had less of a problem once maybe it was where I was at, because it was in New Jersey.
Oh, maybe.
It was like
where was high school?
It was Fort Lee, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like a jock school.
And then where was college?
College was in FIT.
Okay.
So like once I got to college, it's New York.
Yeah,
I think
more people
had a wider perspective perhaps. They didn't have any issues at all. So
good.
I think that's a huge takeaway from the get-go. Visibility is
knowing
being
people's
visible
names and them
in
knowing
their
your
minds.
Names. Yes.
Yeah.
Being visible in real people's minds.
Right.
If they know you as like your icon picture and they don't know your real name and they don't know what you're about and they don't know if you live in the area or show up, it's like you exist in their world because they follow you, but you're not actually visible.
Yeah.
Like you're not on their mind.
Yeah, you're just like a number on their follower account or
it's about
something.
Like quality of followers.
Yes. So let's talk more about that, right? Because I think it leads into the next thing. Because I think in marketing too, they say, you only need to focus on like that one customer, right? The ideal like avatar or
that
whatnot.
one person who's gonna buy.
Exactly. That's the only person you need to talk to. So everybody kind of like filters out automatically because you're not talking to them. You're talking to that one person. And I think a lot of people make the mistake with social media thinking, no, I just want
appeal
to everyone, and it doesn't work because, and I know a lot of other successful artists, they might just have like 6 collectors and they could live off just 6. Sometimes it's even less, right? So you just need 1 or 2 supporters that really love your work and that really care. And in that sense, visibility means being visible to the right people.
Yes.
So
I want to say though, I think it's a balance within the world of social media of appealing to the masses and having that correct person seeing your post or seeing your art on a wall in a gallery or meeting you and being interested in coming for a studio visit. I gave a talk this summer back in June about at a conference that was about behavioral science and climate change.
Oh,
and so
fun.
And it was hosted by a company called Rare, and I had worked with them a little bit to do some they hired me as an influencer to make some posts about some carbon credit like climate projects around the world, and I talked about them and asked people to donate.
Yep.
And when you're asking people to donate, they get so turned off. Like everyone is bombarded by ads and people asking you for things in social media and just through your day, right?
Yep.
Everyone needs something. Everyone's a starving artist, and they really need you to help them out. And the world is ending and it's all on fire and you need to donate now. And it's hard. It's depressing and you can't give away all of yourself.
Right. And it used to be just like 1 or 2 that comes through your email, but now it's just like, blah.
Yeah.
It's like,
and then you feel so guilty.
Right.
But so I knew that I needed to balance getting this video in front of the person who will donate, who is interested and cares and watches my video and goes, oh, like I want to donate to that project.
Right.
But the way it's going to get in front of that person is making a video that is interesting and going to be watched by many people, so that the views continue to grow.
Right. That's a bit of a dilemma.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a, how do you make a video that's like gonna do well and get a few thousand views to get seen by those 5 people out of those 100,000
like,
views that will
reach
donate.
into the pockets. Yeah.
So it's a balance.
So did you solve it?
I mean,
What was your strategy?
My strategy was to, so I did a video on the peatlands in Indonesia.
Okay. Why that?
That was just where the project was.
Okay.
In, I think I'm not going to pronounce it right. The Katagan peatlands.
That's fine.
Okay.
People will forgive you.
People are really unforgiving sometimes when you pronounce things.
You're an American. It's fine.
No, it's not fine. It makes it even worse. I was pronouncing it correctly. Like I was practicing it before I gave the talk. But when you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I started the video with, I didn't know what peatlands were, and I bet you don't either. I didn't know what peatlands were, and I bet you don't either. So I immediately started my video with an accusation, which ignites people's egos, and they're gonna keep watching because they're gonna be like,
does it have anything to do with whiskey?
Whiskey?
Like peatiness? Like, no. Okay, so it's not whiskey.
Whiskey. No. So peatlands are moss that like builds up over time.
Okay.
They're kind of like swamps. They're really beautiful, and then rainforests grow on top of them.
Oh,
and they can be huge, and all that moss is storing so much carbon. And with deforestation, and also with it being used because it makes really good pulp for paper.
Yep.
So it being dug up and used, it's just releasing tons and tons of carbon into the air that has been stored over, a very long time.
Yeah.
That hasn't been in the atmosphere.
Right.
People don't think about how much carbon is just sitting in the earth. Like trees are full of carbon.
Yeah.
And when you cut them up and you chip them and they decay, that's just releasing so much carbon. That's what's harming the planet. And so this huge area is being protected. And carbon credits are this thing where when you protect a land, you can...
you get tax write-offs.
Tax write-offs.
Yep.
But you can also sell the carbon credits to offset. So say like Google produces a huge amount of carbon emissions.
Yep.
And I think by law and for, that little green thumbs up that they can tell their consumers about, they'll buy carbon credits to protect the land that it's getting. So like we could buy a huge forest and then sell the carbon that isn't being released to people who are like releasing so much carbon.
Interesting. That's such like a weird...
I don't even know if I'm explaining it right. I'm not an expert.
I get it. So like, let's say you have a factory, right? And your carbon footprint's like off the scales.
Right.
You go to a company and you're like, hey, I like to buy a couple forests, right? So that I could...
Well, you're not buying the forest. You're giving money to the people who already own the forest.
Right. So at least on paper, you are doing something right.
Yeah.
But technically, you still have the factory.
No,
your carbon footprint is still the same.
Yeah.
So like, it doesn't change anything.
It's not a long...
But
it's like a baby step for helping
Right.
climate change,
Yeah.
and it speaks the language that so many companies speak, which is money.
Right.
They can understand it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna solve climate change, but it's at least getting
It's
movement in the
something-
right direction.
Yeah.
And anyway, this huge peatland, all of it is not getting released into the atmosphere.
So going back to
the video.
To the video, right.
I started the video with an accusation. I started by saying, I didn't know what peatlands were, and I bet you don't either. And then I talk about what they are and how they're a carbon sink, and there's a bunch of spotted leopards and orangutans that live there, and it's their habitat, those are endangered species. And But, half my comments were just, no, I knew what they were. Or, actually I learned this because a bunch of people were from Ireland and they commented, oh, like, we have a bunch of peatlands here. We know what they are. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But, when you accuse people of things, but, lightly, playfully,
right, yeah.
They feel compelled to let you know that you're wrong.
Right.
But that's so good for your comment section.
Right, because that pushes up the engagement.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when people return because like you hearted their comment or you responded, they return and the video gets watched again.
Nice. Right. And then it's telling the algorithms like there's more dwell time, people are on this more, so it's just pushing it out to more viewers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that makes the video get pushed by the people who aren't going to donate.
Right.
And ideally gets it in front of the person who will reach into their pocket and give $10.
So in a sense it's kind of like it's a scatter shot. You're like literally throwing a huge bowl of spaghetti on the wall.
Oh my gosh, yes. That is all social media ever is. You have no idea.
It's just like, let's just throw more spaghetti.
Happen.
Right.
But I also think it's good to appeal to more positive emotions or like passionate emotions. A lot of people pull on heartstrings. They're like, oh, this is so sad and the world is ending and the orangutans are all getting murdered and it's really sad. But people are just gonna scroll. Like you have to someone can move their finger like that and the video's gone. They can turn off.
Yeah.
And I would never blame anyone for just not wanting to see or hear about that. You have to protect your day.
Of course. Yeah.
So just be more positive.
What was the result? Do you have the metrics of that video? And also were there people that donated?
Yes.
Okay.
So my best video was that one.
Nice.
I did 3 different videos for them on 3 different projects.
Okay.
One was in Kenya, one was in New Hampshire, and then that was the peatlands.
Okay.
And that one did best, I think, because of that hook at the beginning where I accused them of not knowing something.
Text? Did it have like a text in the first
so
couple seconds?
I do a voiceover.
Oh, voiceover. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So you see a painting get made of like a little baby leopard and the peatlands, and you get to watch like gooey paint do its thing.
Got it. I'll
and then
add
you hear
this,
a voiceover.
I'll add this video in the post edit so that
Go
people
donate.
can actually like see it and donate for a good cause.
To the peatlands.
Yes.
I should put that. I could put that link back in my link tree.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway,
so that companies can get a tax write-off.
The company, I guess you could put that donation into your tax write-off.
Yeah.
So they told me the metrics was every 10,000 views, they got 1 more donation.
Oh shit. That's a crazy metric though. Wow.
And you know what another metric
10,
is that no one talks about is how many people watch how much of your video.
Dwell time. Like the percentage. I believe it's normally 50% is great.
Oh,
if you could get there.
Good.
Yeah.
If you get 50% of the people who view your video to go halfway through it, I think it's normally like 20 to 30% for me. Sometimes like 7 though,
Yeah.
That they before they scroll.
And mind you, right? Okay, so I think this is where it gets interesting because
retaining attention is so
retaining
hard.
attention, yes. And this is part of visibility and like people's attention spans are obviously getting shorter and shorter.
Everyone's screaming at them, no, pay attention to me,
right.
buy my product, buy my art, follow me. So like I think the longer your video is, the harder of a fight that you setting up for yourself. So you already know this. This for the viewers. So I think the better strategy is to create like a shorter video around like, what do you think, like 15 seconds? Or I mean, all of my videos are normally like 59 seconds.
59.
Yeah, I like to go for a minute.
Right, because you like.
But I like to tell a whole story.
Right, and we'll get to that.
For
if you're not an expert like Nicola, don't try this at home. I mean, you can have like a minute-long video, but it better be damn good, and it better like it's part of the story. But if you starting out, I think it's
starting out, make something that you like, and you feel proud of, and post it, and practice being so indifferent to how well it's received by the universe. I think don't
take it personal at all.
Do things that are genuine to you and that you enjoyed working on. And like that's what you should be posting.
What metrics are they looking for when they're when they're trying to get feedback and kind of depersonalizing it, and like what should they focus on?
Wait, I don't understand. Like when they're making a video and then
they're looking at the insights
and they want it to do really well.
Right. Like what should they be looking at?
It's just such a crapshoot.
It is.
I'll make a video that I think, I'm pretty seasoned now at making a 59-second video, and I have so many videos that have millions of views. But sometimes I make a video and I'm so sure it's gonna do well. It's like it hits all the right points. It has a cute little intro. Like it has a great hook. It has all the things that make for a great video. And you just, I don't know, like you posted at the wrong time, or Instagram has decided to change its algorithm, or TikTok is getting banned soon. Like there's
all
so
the external factors,
many elements out of your control.
Yeah.
And then you like end up beating yourself up over it's what's this word? This word is killing me. It's like it's success. It's analytics. It's a P word. It begins with P.
Not popularity.
Popularity is close. Like how well it's just over how well it's done, not just like doing it.
Okay.
I'm gonna think of the word later and shout it out.
Okay, cool. We'll come back to that. But so for context, can you tell people the type of videos you make? Because they're very unique, and I think I haven't, like before I watch your videos, like I haven't seen something done like that, and I think it's really great for a lot of different factors. But I'll have you tell it.
I make all kinds of videos now, but my niche that I really built on and I think is my main content is normally a historic figure, typically like on the feminist side of history. I think an underdog story is just such a better story. Someone who like overcame the odds or had like a lot of things against them, and my thing is storytelling, and then I'm a bit of a history buff. So whenever I kind of hear a good story, I'll make a watercolor painting.
Okay.
And so what you're seeing in the video is a person getting painted, like a portrait. And then you're hearing a voiceover of like a little story of their life.
So what made you come to this conclusion of like, to make a video like that? Because you make oil paintings also of like people in the subway and things like that, but I haven't seen too many videos of those because it probably take longer too. So what was your thinking? Yeah.
That was me separating social media art from my art. And the moment I did that, and I'm like, these are two different things. And they can cross over sometimes, but they really don't touch. My mashed potatoes and my peas don't touch anymore.
And why is that? Because
when you're filming and painting at the same time, you're not painting anymore. You're doing something else entirely.
Yep.
And also there's the weight of it's gonna be seen, and I need to get this shot right, and I fucked it up, and you're so distracted from painting.
Yep.
So when you think about it as like, no, I'm filming and painting, and that's your focus, you're doing all that, it's not distracting. Your goal is here. Whereas when I'm making my own work, like I just need to be painting.
Absolutely. I actually stopped doing video for my own work because I don't have time to I really don't have that much time to actually paint.
It adds
because I have a full-time job
to working. Yeah.
Yeah, and what it takes us like 15 minutes to get into flow state, and like you're trying to get these shots, and I might have like a camera over my shoulder, but psychologically that camera is there.
Yes.
And your mind, instead of thinking how do I resolve this painting issue, you're like, what will make a good shot? And I hate that voice.
I
Because like
hate
it's
that
always in
voice
the
too.
back of my mind.
And
like,
I don't put them over my shoulder.
Right.
I like being off camera.
yeah.
So, I have my table here and my painting
No,
taped
I
down.
meant
It's
like
a small,
it's
and
like looking.
and I'm like looking at it and I'm
wow,
painting
okay.
like this.
Right.
So like the phone will be
like right.
The
on
phone
top
will
of
be
it.
like the painting is here, the phone is like this, and I'm like trying. I can't even move my brush the way I normally would.
Right, because it's just in the
Because
way.
what's important is the video. That's my end product.
Right.
The painting, you know what? When someone's watching a video of a painting get made,
Yep.
it's the anticipation to see how it turns out is great.
Yeah.
But how it actually turns out is witnessed for maybe a whole second.
Yeah,
Maybe
that
0.5
end
of a
shot.
second of that end shot.
Yeah.
And it could be garbage.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
they made it to the end of your video. You won. The
Right.
goal is the end product is the video.
But the bigger picture is also like, okay, you won, but for a new follower,
Right.
can you convert them to anything beyond
It's
that?
not just about followers though. Like, it's about
No, I know.
putting out your stuff. Like
Right.
I genuinely just like love history and the stories, and I get so excited to share them. And my goal is for someone to go Google or Wikipedia the name that they just learned of, someone interesting from history.
Right. So that's your end goal for that. Like that's infotainment in a sense. Yeah. And I think it's a great because again, I think the takeaway here is to compartmentalize, right? If you have the luxury of doing this, do this so that you're not you're not messing up your own painting. Like I think when you create your own paintings, you almost want it to be like a sanctum. You want to have some sanctity for it. I don't know, like
keep it like the holy space.
Yes, it has to be a holy space somehow.
You know what? It's
Yeah.
because painting involves ritual.
Yes,
Especially seasoned artists, you get to know yourself better. You learn the work you want to make. You have to go through like a lot of trial and error to get there. But once
Yep.
you like know the work you want to make and you know how you like to make it, you know the materials you like to use. You know your type of brushes
Yep.
and which brand of linseed oil, and you have that all, and you have a process that you go through with your paintings from start to end, whether they take years
Yeah.
or a week or even a day. Maybe you finish a painting, but it's ritual,
Yep.
and that is so sacred.
Absolutely. That's what I
And
wanted
private.
to sacred. Yeah.
and personal
Yes. And you don't want
to videotape
exactly.
at the same time.
Yeah, it really messes you up.
I think of art a lot as a religion.
It can
Like it's
be.
a practice.
Yeah.
I think we
It absolutely
pray,
can
we
be.
study the artists we love, the ones alive, the ones dead, all the old masters. We make pilgrimages
Yep.
to all the way to across continents
Yep.
to go see and worship in front of those and cry in front of those artists that you love.
Absolutely.
And it's such a privilege to live in New York and get to go to the Met.
Yes.
I only ever pay a penny or like a nickel when I go to the Met because
Oh,
you
wow.
can pay what you want
Yeah.
for New
yeah.
York residents.
If you can prove that, yeah.
yeah, and
you're
you can
New York
buy.
resident.
You can get like 5 tickets for 1 penny.
Yeah.
And then bring all your friends. in.
I upgraded mine to $1. It used to be a quarter.
You're so kind.
I'm adulting. I'm like, here's $1.
No, honestly, it's whatever loose changes in my pocket.
Yeah. Do they ever give you like a smug look?
Oh no, I think
they
they're
get
like
it.
nice.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, use that privilege.
I know.
Yeah. One of the few privileges of being a New Yorker.
Of being New York resident
Pay
and all.
$1 to the.
And I'm not even like I'm not even I guess I am a resident. I just use my student ID still.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You
good
can
to
also
know.
show an email of your lease and show that your zip code is
Okay. Right.
New York.
Yeah, I have a New York driver's license, so all
So
good
you're
there.
good.
Yeah. But okay, so compartmentalizing, I think, is
Mm-hmm.
important. If you have the luxury and time to be able to do both, I say separate it out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, yeah. Okay, so
They're different practices.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And I think,
I do have advice for if you want to film your own work though.
do tell.
Okay. A painting takes hours, maybe years, right?
Yep.
A video is, as you were saying, shorter the better, especially if there's no voiceover, no big thing. You're putting music on that, and you just want some nice, gushy, satisfying paint shots. You know, a video of the first stroke, put that camera away for 3 hours or weeks.
Okay.
And then some shots really close up of other strokes of paint. Don't be taking like a whole time lapse. Right. You can, but
so all right. So like,
and you slip those together, like, and then a video of the last shot. You're
holding your phone and you're kind of like doing that. How many seconds is the clip?
First of all, not like that. Like get like a first big wash.
So like
or you're priming your canvas before the drawing's even on. Like get that.
Okay, so like the camera or the phone is either on like a tripod or like on a
or you can if you have a steady hand.
Right, or a steady hand, or if you have somebody that can actually do it for you. Yeah, camera buddy.
Cameraman.
Yeah.
Camera person.
Camera person.
Not just men use cameras.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you really just need like 7 shots. One at the beginning.
Okay.
And ideally, there's shots where like a large amount of change is happening. Something changing or becoming different quickly is interesting. And maybe like you wait to the bigger, brighter colors.
Got it.
Because that is, fun to watch on.
Totally.
Like, what kind of video would you want to watch?
Yeah, what were you saying that?
That's what I ask them. When I finish a video, I like put it away for a week because you get so emotionally attached to them too.
Yeah.
And they're like your little baby, and you just like put all this work into this, and you made it, and no one else's baby. No one else gives a shit about your video.
Yep.
You have to then come back to it after not looking at it for a while, and then watch it as if you just found it on your feed. Did this make me care about anything? Did I like watching this? If this was made by someone else and I watched it, would I like it?
Well, so you have to be a very harsh critic, and you have to depersonalize it. So that's what you're doing. You're kind of like stepping away, taking away that emotional connection to it. Yeah. So those are tips. Pay attention. Hot tips. We're just dropping gems here.
Yeah.
I
hope so.
Or yeah, I
maybe
think,
I'm just giving horrible advice. And
no. I think these are all legit because you can, you actually have the proof.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I've made the mistake too many times of being like, I care so much about this, and I feel like everyone else will. No one else will.
Yeah.
That has ruined my videos a few times.
I think that's another thing where, because as artists, we're kind of
intense.
Intense, yes, but also we're seeing things internally and like only from our perspective. I think we have a hard time kind of stepping out, especially when we're working on our own things, and when we get criticized, we get really butthurt. Like you just have to,
you're especially like putting your heart out.
Right.
That was also another separation. Like my oil painting is normally with my heart, and vulnerable, like that gets to seep out there.
Right.
But I try to keep that a little more protected with anything that's going to social media, because you have to be open to criticism. You have to be ready and be calm and trust in yourself. And if you don't have that relationship with yourself where like you could get horrible feedback, but I believe in this, and I'm glad I did it. And I've learned things that I'm thankful for, and I can adjust as I move on. But you need that. Yeah,
and I've heard some artists talking about this. When they work on new series, they keep it tightly under wraps, right? And they don't show it until it's like almost finished. Legs. Yeah, exactly.
Your baby needs to be walking a little bit.
Right, and then you can show it off as much as you want. Yeah. Exactly. So I think that's important. And again, I think, so some of the problems I have is like, since I only have enough time to work on my own stuff and I don't want to shoot video, so then like my, visibility has gone down because it's just like I'm not focusing on that. Or I might take like some
visibility.
Okay, so let's rephrase that as my social media presence has gone down.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean my visibility has gone down.
Because you're still interacting with other artists,
right?
Engaging, saying hi to people,
Right.
going to shows
When I can.
when you can.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
living life
Yes.
and being a likable person. Likable
Trying
how we
to-
defined it.
Right. Like remembering names as much as possible.
names, just being kind.
Yeah.
And also but being kind to yourself. Like you don't be liked by everyone.
Right. You can't. It's impossible.
No, you can't. And you know, that is a lot of investment and it's good to like put that in the right places.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about kind of going back to what we mean by visibility and being seen by the right people. So let's kind of break that down, right? Are they talking about collectors? Or, I think most people are just talking about
Someone
people
who's going
who
to buy their
purchase
work.
their work. Yeah.
So, and that's another thing on social media. People expect things a little cheaper too. You know, if your art is being seen in a gallery, people have like a higher idea of what the price is going to be.
Right.
Versus when they're scrolling through social media and then maybe they'll buy a print of that painting.
Right.
I also think social media, everyone's on social media, but a lot of, at least I feel because you can see the analytics of your numbers and normally they're more Gen Z and who don't have a bunch of money to spend yet. Like they're younger and they're,
Yeah, of course.
and maybe they can afford a $20 print or a
Right.
sticker,
Yeah.
but they're not going to be buying like $1,000 painting.
Yeah. Have you made any sales online for prints or?
So I sell stickers.
Okay.
I'm actually in the midst of trying to make an Etsy shop
Oh shit. Okay.
and sell some prints.
All right. Well, we'll put that on the link.
Yeah, that would
when
be
it's
great.
ready. Yes.
Oh gosh, now I really have to
Launching
go and
Etsy.
do it. I'm launching.
It's out there.
But you know, and I want to sell. You know, I am a printmaker too. I do make.
Yes,
You know,
I've seen your prints.
real-
Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
Thank you. And I want to make some of those, and those are going to be more expensive. I also think on Etsy, people have a higher price that they're willing to pay
Okay.
because Etsy is trusted as you know, these are handmade, wholesome, mom and pop shop kind of vibe.
Yep.
Whereas, you know, on just Amazon or just getting advertisements on Instagram,
Right.
people are like, yeah, I'll spend like
So
$5.
not to deter you too much, but like I've read some articles about how Etsy is becoming more like more Amazon-ish.
Yeah. Well, it's getting
Whereas
flooded with like print to order stuff.
Yeah, it's getting flooded by like bigger companies,
Mm-hmm.
and it's no longer what it used to be, where it's just like smaller, artists like making like one of a kind type of things. So the competition, I think, is going to be more fierce now, I imagine. But that said,
I believe that.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about that because I'm not going to be counting on Etsy to sell my
this
stuff.
is more like a side thing.
Yeah, this
Got
is
it.
where my stuff is going to be placed, and then I'm going to advertise it myself on my.
Nice.
So I have myself to
Got
promote,
it. Got it. Right.
and that's a privilege of having my following.
Right.
Is I can.
That's how you leverage it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that I can advertise myself pretty successfully,
Right.
which is great.
Yeah.
And that's a perk of the visibility on the social media side.
Yes. So if you have a product, whether it's stickers, prints, things like that, or a service, that's how you kind of like leverage that following. And I guess the other thing is there are times I think galleries will look at it just to decide if they're going to put you in a show.
Galleries like seeing that you're going to be able to advertise yourself. That's a perk for
Right.
them.
Yeah, because that's less work for them. Because the less work they have to do, the better, and they'll still take 50%.
Which is silly. Or 75. It's
Wait,
silly because
75?
yes,
Jesus. Okay.
it's silly because it's literally their position as the middleman between buyer
To do
and
the damn
artist
job for you
was
of
to
marketing.
advertise and sell
Yes.
the work.
Yeah.
But now with social media, like you're kind of counted on to sell it yourself as well.
And also bring in collectors. It's like, what?
Which is, yeah,
It's like, are
I
you
don't know.
kidding
There's
me?
a balance.
Yeah.
Like it's not something to be bitter about. It makes sense why this has happened and we've arrived here.
Yep.
But it needs, I guess, I don't know. It just needs more talking about. Like, what is your job here? What is mine? Like, let's decide this.
Yeah, and that, that 50%.
Why do I need you?
Right, that 50% like who made that decision when, and like that contract needs to get updated. I think if it's based on actual like, why do I need you?
Why have
like,
you earned this 50%?
Exactly, like earn my percentage.
I mean, actually, I think we might have already answered that. With cheap visibility on social media, people can afford a $50 print maybe.
Right.
Whereas the visibility a gallery is ideally providing you is people can pay up to a few $1,000s
right.
for your work.
Yeah.
Which, you know, those people aren't necessarily scrolling. Those are older people who have wealth collected
Yes.
and wall space for artwork or storage space to like,
yeah, those
put
are the
your
guys that
artwork in.
you're actually trying to get to.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that is what galleries are meant to provide, is visibility to those people.
Yes. Although they're kind of playing the same game, but sometimes like worse than you are, you know, at least for the social media part. I think they're getting their collectors through older methods, right? Through networking in person, being part of
I mean, they're showing
specific
face.
social.
They're throwing those openings and those parties and
totally. Yeah, they're doing it the old school
way.
way.
Their visibility is way more in real life and way more valuable.
Yes. Yeah, and they have actual physical space for you to put your stuff up on.
And they know
And
who the collectors are.
Yep, and they are investing, you know, the good ones are investing in art fairs, things like that. And they really know how to like market you properly. So like...
Also, I'm not an expert in any of that, so
yeah,
take that all with a grain of salt, please.
I think, you know, ideally, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, right? Because then like we shouldn't have to worry about visibility in the sense of
well, no, you need
pertaining
to be visible enough to get noticed by a gallery.
Right. I meant like...
It's like it all leads
Yeah.
into itself.
Yes.
So, you know,
yes.
my career, like what I am hoping for in my life, you know, ideally I have like 70 years of life left.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
If I don't get sick or something. But I would, thank you. I will be immortal because I'll live on in everyone's hearts and minds.
Yes.
Thank you. But I would really like to teach. I love teaching. And so that's why I wanted my master's.
Yep.
But to teach at a higher ed, you need visibility of being an artist and being in shows, because no one wants a teacher at their school who's not like showing. They want active artists, like real artists who are working as artists in their shows. And so how do you become a real artist? Visibility on social media. So I'm sort of starting like social media to bolster being an artist to then reach teaching.
Got it.
It's not necessarily has to go that way.
It's a bit of a roundabout.
They all feed each other.
Yes, they do.
And I mean, all artists are always working multiple jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I got my part-time jobs and my social media, which doesn't make a lot of money.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the stuff we do, we're kind of just doing it for free, or like a lot of it are passion projects. Like this is a passion project, you know? So, but I think it counts for visibility, right?
It does count for visibility. It also counts for like happiness and how you lived your life.
Yeah, actually this is...
It's hard to remind yourself of that when everything's so money oriented in a capitalist
that's
society.
The reason I started doing this in the first place. I remember because I was going through like some existential crisis, because I was just like in the studio a lot, and I'm like, fuck.
You spend too much time alone.
Yes, and like...
Artists need each other.
Yeah.
To validate each other.
So this is like my...
To be like, oh, you're also doing this thing that doesn't really make sense in the capitalist society because we're not really providing something specifically for capitalism.
Right.
And everyone's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Like, what's your purpose?
You need other artists to quiet those thoughts.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean...
oh, you're crazy too.
Yeah.
I feel better about
crazy
myself.
in the right way. Yeah. Yeah. So like, you know, just... when we started, it was in Marshall's living room, and we would just get drunk and talk to artists. It was great. It was fun.
Great.
It was just like so cathartic, you know, and that socializing really helped. It helped me at least, like my soul or whatever it is.
Artists need each other.
Yeah, and then like, you know, and then they started doing this thing on Zoom, and I feel like it's just not the same, you know. So I'm trying to like bring it back to like in-person interviews now because it's so much more fun.
I've heard that story so many times of something like really nice happening and then it trying to be monetized or bolstered to make more sense
Yep.
in our money-driven minds.
Yep.
And then it loses its heart and soul.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to balance art
Yes.
and money.
And money. I mean,
But like in the spiritual way, like the spiritual relationship we have with money and the spiritual relationship we have with art, they really are toxic towards each other.
totally. So this is the concept of this 3-body problem. And I did a separate video kind of explaining it, but you know, because okay, you need time to make paintings, but to have time, that's assuming that you have money to pay your bills so that you can have this chunk of time to work on your paintings. Mm-hmm. And then you need visibility once the stuff is made to be able to sell it to make the money. So then it's sort of like the chicken or the egg, like what came first?
Yeah.
You know?
You're at a stalemate.
Yeah, you have these like 3 things, right? And you're like, it's very difficult to predict which one is going to, like, can you predict where you're going to be at next year in terms of your art career?
I mean, not necessarily, no.
Right. There's too many variables, right? And like, especially with time and money, and like it's just like these 3
a lot
just
of juggling.
Exactly. It's so much juggling, and
you don't know what's gonna. A lot of belief in yourself. You know what, the artists who make it like had the audacity. Those are the artists who just didn't stop.
Right. I think not stopping is a huge thing to keep going, even though you might feel like you're not getting heard and you're not being visible. There's somebody out there.
You have to be okay with failing, though. You have to be okay with, like, I might die and no one ever bought a single work of my art.
Yeah.
And would you still be an artist? Would you still be like, I want to paint, I want to do these things?
That's a good thought experiment. Like, if you're stuck on an island, and would you paint?
Yeah, I would totally paint. I think I'd paint so much better too.
Really?
Sometimes I'm like, if I was the last human alive, apocalypse.
Yeah.
I'm the survivor. I'm just gonna paint.
You're just gonna paint. You're gonna be like, I don't care about the zombies or whatever.
No one's gonna see this.
Yeah, the zombies will appreciate it.
Sometimes I think about, if I were to just like make art and burn it immediately, would I? Like, I guess what we're talking about is like art for art's sake.
Yes.
And the ritual, the act of making, and how nice that is.
Yeah, because the ritual is for the ritual's sake. It's not about the thing that comes out of the ritual.
And ideally, you can make a living off of it.
Right, ideally.
Oh my God, what a mess. How do you balance all that?
You don't. I think balance is
You're just lucky. So be likable. Have your work made. Be in the right place at the right time. Be lucky. Have you ever tried being lucky?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suck at it. I'm horrible at it. But there are times when I'm just like, what the fuck? Because it's not like I'm doing less work. I'm doing the same amount or even more. Mm-hmm. But then sometimes I don't have access to certain places and time. And I know other artists that just have that access that were able to propel them in the stratosphere. And it's like, what the fuck?
It feels really unfair.
You're right.
A lot of people get caught up in that.
Yeah, and it's like...
So you gotta like put your blinders onto that. Like just focus on what you're doing in your journey.
Yeah.
That stuff will get you down.
Spoiler alert, it is unfair.
Yeah.
Everything...
Oh my God, is life unfair?
Yeah, I know.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah. But like, despite all that, I think you have to create your own moments and opportunities however way you can, because every person's sort of like jigsaw puzzle Rubik's Cube is going to be different, right?
What's that like Boy Scout quote? Luck favors the prepared. Yep. Luck favors the prepared.
Yeah, like
you can. I suppose you really can create your own luck.
Yeah, totally. Like,
but it's not easy.
No, like a friend of mine, she came out with a book recently, Chrissy Gordon, and then there was a part where she said she really wanted to be on the cover of one of these art magazines that she likes, and she put a lot of time researching all the publishers' names, and she remembered them. And then one time
what did she do? She remembered people's names?
Yeah, exactly. Going back to that. Oh, right. And then there was
effective. It's
so
insane
effective.
how
Right.
effective it is.
So
Like,
there was an open studio, and this dude came into a studio, and he's like, I'm blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh shit, he's a publisher of this magazine. And then she ended up, connecting with them.
That was lucky.
Yes.
But she was prepared.
Exactly. So
you can't just sit around and wait. You need to research the things you want to move towards.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that's what manifestation is in reality.
Exactly.
Like when you're preparing for something, you're focusing on it.
Yeah.
You're manifesting it, but it's like work.
Yes.
You need to do that research.
You still got to put the work in. Yeah.
To get there.
So let's wrap this up. But
wait, I've been seeing on this thing I wanted to share that really, when a lot of artists, when they finish school or they really start their career, like, oh, I'm trying to do it now. It's scary. But something I learned that kind of helped me out with just, and I think this really fits in with the visibility thing is, you don't need 100,000 followers. So 100 times 1,000 is 100,000.
Is it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you are selling, paintings are expensive. You're selling $1,000 is like, on the small end too.
Right.
If you sell 100 people $1,000 painting, which is pretty doable. Like you can imagine that in your mind's eye. Like that's gonna take a lot of work.
Yes.
That's doable. That's $100,000. Minus cost of materials and taxes.
Yep. Also,
you could do that in a year.
Yeah.
Or you could sell $100 print to 1,000 people.
Right.
Which is more like what I was thinking. Like I could do that.
Yeah. Once you start breaking down the numbers, I think it becomes more feasible. Yeah. I think you have to go in it thinking that.
Yes.
Just start doing the math. I think that's really smart. So the math I was doing before, what I wish I did before I started on my career path was like understanding, okay, cost of living in New York versus how many paintings can I make and how much money could I sell them for? Like the math doesn't add up, right? Like let's say you make 10 paintings a year, right?
Right.
And each of them are like, I don't know, 1,000, whatever, and it's 50% to the gallery. That doesn't even...
Well, if you're selling through gallery,
let's say you sell all the paintings, right? That doesn't even get you
that math is not mathing.
That math is definitely not mathing. So they don't really talk about this in school either, art schools and whatnot. Like this is just real life shit.
Yeah, they're kind of just like, oh, you're on no.
Yeah. It's like, do the fucking math and like figure out, you just have to be like pragmatic about it because this is the capitalist part. Like
be good at
also
math,
survival.
Be good at taxes.
Be good at taxes, yes. We'll do a separate thing on this.
Actually, I've been doing my taxes by hand. I've been not getting an accountant the last 3 years.
Yeah, I've been doing it myself too. I don't know how well I'm doing, but
I get better every year. So
okay, we'll talk.
Yeah, maybe we should talk.
We should talk about that. But anyways,
Taxes are scary.
Takeaways for people?
Takeaways.
Yeah.
Compartmentalize your art practice versus your social media practice, and find ways to think about it positively and believe in yourself first. That sounds so cheesy. Like that was you just opened a fortune cookie. If you don't believe in yourself first and you're gonna swallow all the negativity or, oh, I didn't get enough likes so quickly, and it's gonna poison you and you're gonna ruin your, this beautiful thing that you're doing, which is creating. Yeah.
All right. Nicola Russell, y'all.
Thank you.
Take care.